The reason a cultural and community centre like the 92nd Street Y is able to sustain such a long tradition of hosting events such as this evening is really quite simple. It's because leaders like the two of us joining on stage tonight have a true belief in the kind of in-depth conversation you're about to enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, Joseph Stiglitz and Arianna Huffington.
Thank you so much. So we are unscripted and unmoderated. It's pretty dangerous. I'm personally absolutely thrilled because I have been a huge fan of Joe Stiglitz for so long and have studied his works and have marveled at his insights and at his prophetic understanding of what's happening. And as I look around and I see the country and the world kind of filled with amazingly brilliant people who are making terrible decisions, I feel that the one thing that's missing is not IQ, but wisdom. And we're delighted, really, to have you here. Now, this is I'm not interviewing you, we're kind of having a conversation, but I feel sort of in awe of you, so I want to start by saying how I feel and why I feel like that. And so at the Huffington Post, we kind of stalk you. You know, we know everything you're doing, everything you're writing. We are constantly linking to what you're saying. And so we know that on Friday, you're going to be testifying in Congress to the Congressional Oversight Committee. It's actually its last meeting before it closes shop. So can you give us a preview of what you're going to say?
Yes. Let me first say it is the last meeting. And for those of you who don't know what the Congressional Oversight Panel is, I don't know if you remember about 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, when the financial sector was collapsing, Hank Paulson went to Congress with a 3 or 5 page bill saying, give us $700 billion, trust me, no congressional oversight, no judicial review, just give me a blank check. And the surprising thing is that Congress said no.
Yes.
Then there was a lot of discussion, and finally, Congress, acting perhaps more normal way, they said with a $150 billion bribe to our constituents, to the big business tax cuts, we'll pass the bill. But we'll have one condition: there has to be a little congressional oversight. And that's how they created the Congressional Oversight Panel. And it's done a very good job, very impressive. It's been a real thorn in the side of both administrations. They didn't like anybody oversight. And we can understand why when we see what they found out. So this is supposed to be the last meeting where they're going to have to say, you know, was it good, was it bad, did it work? If you remember what, again, both presidents said, what was the reason they were giving so much money to the banks? It wasn't because they love the banks. You know, they're cuddly, but they're not that cuddly for $700 billion. So what was it they said? They said that they needed to save the banks to get the flow of money going again, credit, the lifeblood of the economy. And that was the argument. But if you look at what they did, it hasn't worked. That is to say, credit is still lower than it was before the crisis. Profits have returned to the banks and to the market. Some parts of the market are doing well, but unemployment is still the case that 1 out of 6 Americans who would like a full-time job can't get one. So you can't say it worked. In the ultimate objective is to get the economy back to work. Right. It failed. What those in the administration claim is, well, things might have been worse, and at least you got repaid. But then you look at the deals that they did. They gave money to the banks at very unfair terms. And this is where the Congressional Oversight Panel played a very important role. They said, look, if you're going to give money to the banks, don't let them just pour the money out in dividends and bonuses for record losses. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, money going in and money going out, how is that going to lead to more lending? Congressional Oversight Panel pointed out that when we gave them money, we got back stocks and preferred shares and warrants, and they valued these. They were worth 66 cents for every dollar that we gave them. So we got cheated. Now, in the end, the market went up, and we got paid barely what we gave them. But if we had gotten an arm's length deal like Warren Buffett got when he put money into Goldman Sachs, our deficit would have been much smaller. Our national debt would be much smaller. We'd be in a much stronger position. We wouldn't have to be cutting back on education and infrastructure, all the things that you've been talking about.
Yes, that's really the main thing that I've been writing about in Third World America and in my post, which is the way that so many in the media present what's happening as a right versus left issue is completely missing the point. Because as you have said, what is going on is not really the way capitalism was supposed to work. Because,
I used the word ersatz capitalism, where you socialize losses and you privatize profits.
Exactly, yeah. That's what it is. I've been quoting you saying that so much, I thought I had said it. But that's exactly what's happening, because in the way that the capitalist system was expected to work, if you take excessive risk, as these banks did, you basically face the consequences. And the consequences would have been incredibly devastating if the taxpayer had not intervened. And there was a case for the taxpayer intervening, but not the way we did. That's really the point you're making.
Exactly,
yes.
and you're absolutely right. This is really bipartisan. What's so interesting is that there is broad agreement about this, except from the bankers. They like the way it worked out.
So when you look at the decisions that have been made in Washington, why do you think that jobs and the unemployment crisis has not really been prioritized? I mean, after all, if you look at the sense of emergency that surrounded the imminent financial meltdown, it was amazing, you know, that famous weekend that so much has been written about when the financial establishment and the political establishment and the media establishment, everybody sort of came together and said, we have to do something about it, and they did, and at least they saved the financial system. We've never had that same sense of urgency around jobs. Why is that, do you think?
That's a good question. I think one of the things is a statement about how our political process works. You know, it's been said that we have the best government that money can buy. And the more recent Supreme Court case has made things worse, because what we've done is we've said that corporations, or the Supreme Court said, that corporations are like people. They have the right to contribute anything they want. And just think about it for a minute. The obligation of a firm is to maximize its profits. You look at how the banks invested their capital in housing versus their political capital. What gave them a higher return?
Right.
Clearly, the political capital gave them a very high return, not the investments they made that went way south. So it's their obligation now to buy the politicians. They have the right to do it, and now they're given basically almost with the right, given that they are supposed to maximize profits, forget about the consequences for our country, maximize profits, they almost have an obligation to try to buy the politicians in any way they can, so long as they don't go to jail.